Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, everybody. We are back for another episode of Scale School. Today, we're going to be diving into AI agents, the agentic economy, and all things I know nothing about because I am way too focused on marketing and that fun stuff. With me today, we have the one and only Swiss Army knife of virtuals, Mr. Chris Johnson. How you doing, man?
Good. Thanks for having me. Yeah, some people know me as Don Johnson. Other people know me as Chris Johnson. But yeah, Swiss Army Knife at Virtuals Protocol. Been with the team since the start and super excited to be here talking with you guys today.
And also with me, as always, Mr. Professor Sawyer, the great Axios, our VP of Developer Success, operational guy, the man who sits on many tables wearing many hats. How you doing?
I feel like I'm living a Game of Thrones episode.
I really don't like you sometimes.
Is that not how they introduce people in that show? They've got like 25 titles. I feel like that's how I just got introduced.
Yeah.
Come
Like,
on, you didn't catch on to that right away, really?
No,
You're
I thought it was an accent thing. If I'm being honest, I thought you were trying to say something
Are you
about the
kidding
accent.
me? I think pretty much every United States citizen in the world wishes they had a British accent. Let's be honest.
Okay, be careful because we are a small country. We have, I think, the most number of accents per like capita in the world.
Yeah, but like I think everyone here that I know wishes they had some type of song. Anyways, I digress. Great to be here. For those of you that don't know me, my name's Sawyer. I run Scale's Developer Success Team, and as Mr. Ben mentioned here, excited to talk today about more agents, more AI, more agentic commerce, more X402, and very excited today to be chatting here with Chris from the virtuals team. So yeah, very excited. Let's kick it off and ignore my apparently bad humor.
What have I walked myself into here?
Yeah. Most people never come, but we've never had a return guest before. It's
Right.
we haven't. We're not too sure.
We should work on that.
Yeah, maybe we're the issues.
I'm definitely the issue.
Yeah, you're right.
I'm open to admitting it as well.
So, virtuals protocol, man. I'm gonna butcher this. I feel like I started. You guys launched in what, early 24?
Well, the truth is we started 4 years ago.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so we actually started as a gaming investment DAO, and we launched at literally the last week of the bull market in December 21. So yeah, there's a lot of history that some people just don't know. It actually started as a generative NFT project. We quickly involved it into a gaming DAO. We did a copper launch in December. And yeah, basically from the day we launched, markets were down, and so was our token. In the first year, we had a fiduciary responsibility to go in and invest in gaming. We allocated into like 35 different projects. Reached a certain point where we said, okay, let's sort of start incubating our own stuff instead of just writing that check, right? You write that check and then you don't hear from people. And so yeah, we started incubating our own projects, and a lot of these we're using LLMs. And at a certain point, we said, you know what? Like, there's something here with it. Like, this wave is coming. This AI, this is coming. And we weren't in a position at all to sort of compete with like the large LLM models, right? Pretty small team, and we said, you know what? What about if we like own that like AI gaming like infrastructure? So yeah, we took like a big leap of faith, and we essentially went out to our community and said, you know what? We're going to go to a new direction. We want to rebrand, and we're going to go into a bit of stealth mode. And if you want to come along with us on the journey, we can do a migration 1-for-1 of your tokens. If you choose not to, we'll buy back your tokens at an inflated price. So we did that in December, and then went into stealth mode. But yeah, I don't want to go too deep into all the history unless that's kind of the stuff you guys want to hear about. But
I,
yeah,
I
we
think it's always good to learn like where people and businesses come from, because I think it gives you a unique perspective on that you've been here for a long time, right?
Yeah, I mean the truth honestly is that like you from our experience, like we've learned the most, I guess, from failure, right? And I think one of the benefits is that we kept kind of failing fast, right? And then kept learning through it. So yeah, when we relaunched as Virtuals, we were kind of in stealth mode, head down, focused on building AI gaming infrastructure. And it took us about 8 months to release that publicly. This is kind of the time, when we first started as a gaming DAO, all these large big companies needed, their hundreds of millions of dollars because they required game engines, right, to build
Mm,
these games. But with AI, we were actually able to build an infrastructure in-house, and we thought this was going to be the big thing. And of course, after 8 or 9 months of working on it, we deployed it, and it was like crickets, and we had all these connections in gaming. So, we had invested in a lot of these companies, and we did and still do believe that like AI and gaming it's a good combo. It's going to change things. But yeah, it was crickets, and essentially we pivoted our technology that we had developed from like a gaming focus to like an entertainment and social focus. Um, for those that are familiar, this was around the time when Mark Andreessen was yapping day in and day out about Truth Terminal, right?
oh my
Um,
God, that's a throwback.
yeah, and so that's to the point where we essentially said, you know what, let's pivot it into more of like a gaming, sorry, from gaming into like an entertainment social, and let's also open up the black box, right? Everyone wants to see in the box, and we had strong thoughts that what Truth Terminal was doing was it was not autonomous, and so we at that point deployed Luna, which was a character we had on TikTok that was performing 24/7. So that's where we took the technology that we had intended for gaming and deployed it there. And we also opened up the black box. So you could actually go into the terminal and you could see like, thought reasoning, action reasoning, all that kind of stuff. It led to us saying that, there might be a larger use for this, and other people would want access to this infrastructure. And so that's when we deployed the tokenized agent launching platform. And yeah, that was literally October of last year, and it's been a wild, year since then. So yeah, happy to get into any of the trenches on that, but you know, that's a quick but 5-minute history.
I like it because I was I remember seeing you guys. I remember the TikTok agent. I was at another company, and we actually like, I think it was like the day after that, like spoke to you guys and like launched a Twitter bot, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, it was crazy, man. Like I remember that old UI, and like seeing where you guys were to where you are now is incredible. Like the growth that you guys have done is immense, and it's amazing, and it's a testament to
Yeah, it's changed a lot too. Like the UI is funny. I used to get probably literally hate mail saying, "There's no dark mode. I'm trying to trade agents at 2 a.m. in the morning in bed, and my wife's gonna kill me, and my retinas are getting shot." But yeah, it's changed a lot since then. There was obviously a very large, you know, like let's be frank, it was probably more hype cycle in Q4 of last year around the agents. Everyone and their mother was just deploying an agent, and at that point, the projects were saying, okay, we're gonna create like an agent that's gonna do everything, and that's like now we're in a very different type of place. But I think now is actually a lot more exciting because the agents are doing a lot of things and they're working together, which I know we'll
yeah.
talk about today.
And that kind of like brings us over to like, where are we seeing agents with the most adoption right now? We did see them kind of all just being like Twitter bots and things like that. And then, we have trading, and, what does today look like for the world of agents?
I think there's a lot of different verticals that are catching on. I think the trading, the DeFi stuff is very hot. But what's interesting is that they're now working in coordination in swarms, right? So what we've seen over the last year is that when teams develop these agents, like typically the agents can only do like one or two things like really well. And then that's where other agents come in, to solve the pinpoint. So yeah, I think DeFi is probably still, where we're seeing the most adaptation. Sports betting, prediction markets, but everything even from like food delivery and flight, booking airline flights. But yeah, I'd say heavily like the DeFi stuff right now is what's catching the attention of our community.
Okay, tangent question to all involved. We do tangents a lot here. So obviously, when you book flights, I'm taking on your booking flights thing, right? When you book flights, like location can increase flight prices, right? So can how many flights you've looked at, all of these different things, right? Can influence flight prices. What happens if an AI agent who technically doesn't have a location goes to look for these flight prices?
He does have a location, or it has a location. It's
Yeah,
wherever
I
the
guess
server's running.
it's wherever the server's running, right?
Yeah, but I don't know. I feel like those types of things I feel like they're not as common. Like I feel like I feel like with the amount of like browsers that do ad blocking now and cookie blocking and like all that, like I do feel like it's less common. Like I actually have tried it a couple times recently where I've seen things say like, oh, if you want to book a flight, put a VPN on India, and if you put it on India, it's going to drop the price by like 70%. Did not work one bit. So like I think a lot of that is kind of like your internet, like don't trust everything on the internet. But I do think in situations where like if you look at something a dozen times and they're like, okay, this person's probably going to buy it, let's maybe try to jack up the price 20%.
Yeah.
I think that type of thing gets ultimately ironed out by your agent swarms, because the whole point of these agent swarms is that you're not asking, ideally in today's world, you're not asking one agent to book you the flight, right? I think the future that we're trying to get to is you're putting a request out there, and that request is, hey, I want to go on vacation. Maybe you're providing it specifics, maybe it's very open-ended. Then the agents are ideally coming to you and saying, oh, I can fill that. I can do it for you, right? I feel like that is a big part of where people are trying to go with it, because it's more valuable in that like autonomous way than if you just like know, oh, I'm going to this specific agent and I'm doing it. That's basically the equivalent of calling a travel agent today.
Yeah,
There's really not much different.
No, Sawyer's right. And like the other thing too is that, it's because there's different layers here, right, involved with, and we'll get into it, like with payments and verification and the fact that, okay, I'm trying to book something, is it even delivered? But I think it's beyond just price. Like, I'm a total brat, man. When I fly, I really want to sit in the aisle. Like, I do not want that middle seat. And how many times have I gone through like the whole booking process only to learn at the last moment that like, you know, middles, like I can't get that. Okay, let me go back and maybe is there another flight like an hour in advance or 2 hours later? No promo for a certain airline here, but I like flying United. Okay, I'm in San Francisco. It's easy to fly United. But every now and then, like I take a Delta flight. Okay. So I kind of know that I have miles like on on United. Maybe I've done a JetBlue or I've done another type of flight in the past. Well, that's also the things that the agents can help to coordinate, right? So maybe I'm not reminded the fact that I actually, I do have Delta miles from like 2 years ago. And I think they're going to expire, or my agent will know all of that. So it's not just so much about like the price, it's more about like the overall, let's say, direction that you as a human would, like request sort of in that feedback loop. So here's what I like these seats. I don't want to leave these times during the day because then I'm going to sit in traffic. Seat selection, that kind of stuff, etc.
Which kind of brings me to a question, right, that I love because I'm always out there looking for cool and new things. What is the coolest agent you guys have seen? Chris, kick me off. Coolest agent. What's the coolest one you've ever seen?
I like just the simple agents, right? I got two answers for you. One, because I got to give a plug to what we're building at Virtuals. So like what we're doing with Butler is pretty cool. So like, just this last couple of days we went live with the Simpson agent. Like it's all swarms, right? So you can go to Butler through Virtuals, you can go to Butler on X and you can say, Butler, I want a 3 times long, Ethereum today because markets are down, and it'll autonomously do that for you. So that's really cool. And that's like the new kind of frontier. But my mom, my wife, like they're not going to be going into Butler and doing perps trading, right? So I think some of the agents that are like really simple, for example, Mamo is a yield farming agent, and it's got a clean UI, and basically there's 3 steps. You open an account, you deposit USDC, and you just watch your money grow. That's it. It sends you a message every day saying, okay, Chris, over the last 24 hours, you made this much at this rate, and it compounded this many times. And it's just simple. So I love agents that are also helping with onboarding, right? Because, crypto and Web3 rails, like they're not going to solve the world's problems, right? And the one agents that like are really just simple and easy, I think those are like, yeah, I like those ones.
So yeah, what about you, man?
I like all of the stuff that's being done. I don't have a specific one. There's too many at this point. I like all the stuff just being done in relation to automation behind the scenes of prompt tools. So all the stuff being built where I can go into ChatGPT and be like, hey, go, here's what I want. And it just kind of goes and primarily kicks stuff off behind the scenes. I have a very big belief that over the next few years, we're going to see a consistent, dramatic shift of the majority of the internet consumption be done via prompt tools, because I think for human beings, it's far more efficient. And as these tools get stronger and cheaper. And so I think anything just in that bucket of like someone built an agent, the agent is designed to take in input from ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, whatever, and then do stuff and then send back result. And it just kind of manages it. I think anything in that area is like the coolest thing right now for me. Cause yeah, like why go through all the manual steps when you can just ask ChatGPT?
I got another one too. That like this is something I've recently been playing around with, because again, I like agents that I can take to people that like aren't, crypto degens like us, right? And I think some of the fact checking stuff is really cool, because like when you have these LLMs, they have to like cover like everything, right? And so we've seen people now like build like really specialized like fact checking that benchmark wise like beats all the other stuff like considerably. So like Provenance is an agent that just launched through us like I think a week ago, and it's really cool. I can go on X and just say at Provenance and please fact check, and it doesn't come back in like 10 seconds or 30 seconds. I have given that feedback to the team, but yeah, within like 2 minutes, like it'll tell you, okay, is this misleading, is this right on, is it kind of half true? So yeah, I like stuff that you can just play around with, and that's pretty simple.
Agree. Anything that is not crypto native is very interesting to me, just because I do think just the broader TAM for agentic commerce, agentic economy, machine economy is the entire world. And I think, yes, we'll see a lot more of the world come on chain, but I think most of that will be done invisibly. And I think this is our path to get there, is getting people on board. And then behind the scenes, it might be using crypto, might be tokenized agents, whatever it may be. But to the average person, they don't care that it's crypto, nor do they want to care. They just want their life to be able to be delegated or be better or more efficient or automated or whatever it may be.
Yeah, I think also like when we talk about agents, like at virtual, like we have different pillars, right? And like one of our 4 pillars is robotics, and like for us, it's like we don't care if really honestly markets are down or up or choppy. Like we're not pivoting. Like all the 4 pillars, work together. So we have our launch pad, which we're most well known for. Robotics now is a huge focus for us. We have ACP, which is the commerce protocol where all these agents are working together in swarms, and then the Butler agent, which I mentioned earlier. And so we're not like leaving one and going to the other, because when we talk about agents, like very much so, like it's also about the embodiment of these agents like in a physical form. And so I think we're also seeing some cool stuff in terms of like human contribution for the training of those agents. So just like I got connected with the team at, it was called Path, but 4 years ago plus, like a lot of the team was like involved in Axie Infinity, right? We all know like about that run up of Axie Infinity. But what that enabled was people in maybe developing countries that didn't have access to capital, the ability to earn through playing. Now, we're seeing a little bit of a similar thing develop with robotics and the actual training of the robots. So a lot of people talk about LLMs a lot. VLMs is something that we're very focused on, visual language models, because this is used actually like in the training of these robots. And at the end of the day, you need humans to contribute the data for the training. So I think that's kind of a cool frontier as well. I'm not a robotics expert by any means, but yeah, every day I'm just being a sponge and trying to learn as much as possible. And like Sawyer alluded to, I think that when you think about humans contributing data to robot training, and that's like, you're like, what does that mean? Okay. That literally means like Sawyer folding his clothes in the morning or rearranging his refrigerator, right? These are, putting the clothes in the dryer, taking clothes out of the dryer. These are all, actions in the future that some people are building robots for, but they can't just like turn on a switch and the robot's going to correctly, fold the clothes. There's a lot of training that's involved, and that's a really cool space I think that some people are building on. And by tokenizing, using a tokenization model for the contribution of data, is something that we're seeing a bit as well now.
Cool.
Amazing.
Sorry, I
Cool.
just hijacked it and went into robots.
Dude, I love
Oh,
robots.
you're
No,
good.
robots are cool, man. For me, it's like I really want us to be able to see easy to use and programmable SLMs. That's what I want, right? I want to be able to just have like a program on my computer or like on an external hard drive or something where I can feed it absolutely everything and I can ask it a question and it will give me an answer. That's what I want.
I'm so proud that you know what an SLM is. I'm so proud. Like, for those of you in the audience watching at home or wherever you are, an SLM, at least I think what he's referring to here, stands for small language model,
Yeah.
which is a model that is, well, very small.
Small.
And it's usually not very good at most things. And so the only way to make them good is to hyper tune them and create adapters and stuff to make them not terrible in most cases, which is very doable. I've done it. It's very fun as well. But yeah, I'm very proud because we've come a long way.
We have. I learned a lot.
And you guys are both right. I mean, like, again, I didn't want to get too technical, but SLMs is exactly what people are using for fact checking, right? And like as Sawyer alluded to, it takes training for these, right? So like when an agent is born, it's like essentially a baby. When I was a kid, I wanted to be a firefighter, a rock star, and a veterinarian, but like as you get older, like you realize, okay, if I want to do something really well, like I got to focus, and be more specialized. So I think what's going on with the SLMs is groundbreaking because again of this whole coordination level that we're going into. So, you're going to always see the Anthropics, OpenAIs, they're building in that larger model. But all these SLMs are going to be, vital contributors. And you're seeing already like the benchmarking on them, they're highly, highly more accurate.
Definitely. I think this gets like a way off topic, but I do think just for those listening, it's very relevant to the broader conversation of the agentic economy, like Chris is saying, because of the fact that it is not feasible for everything to cost a penny. It is not feasible for everything to cost $1. It's not even feasible for everything to cost like 1/100 of a penny. When you think about the amount of actions that people are functionally trying to create agentic value through, we need to be preparing for a world where you're delegating potentially, like if you think about it, right? The average human being spends X amount in their daily life, right? Just say, for example, Chris lives in San Francisco. San Francisco is obviously a very expensive city. Just assume that Chris spends on average a day. I'm totally making this number up. Assume he spends $50 a day on food, transportation, coffee, goes out once in a while, whatever, right? Now, in this world of agentic commerce, right, we can maybe assume that Chris is going to delegate $10 a day to his agents. Where they spend that money, who knows? I don't think we're going to see a world where people are like nickel and diming their agents and they're like, you can only spend like a penny. I think it's going to be like, here's my agent budget. I'm putting it in wherever, right? My wallet, my bank, my delegation tool, and then you have all these agents who just have all these guardrails and designs in place that other people built, and it just pulls money and pays. And because of that, we're delegating and we start to see all these transactions pile up. I think those costs are going to be like minute. And so in order to actually have costs that are like a fraction of a penny for things like fact checking, which functionally shouldn't take that much power, we need these small models because it's not feasible to pay 8 cents to Anthropic to fact check one thing. You might need to have 500 things a day fact check for your job. You need that to cost like less than 5 cents. You can't have that costing like $5 every day. It's not in your budget. So
it's time, right? It's what do you value your time at, right? Because I can fact check something, but it might take me a minute, right, to go to multiple different websites quickly and verify sources, right?
I think there's two sides to this though, and it's something that I've actually been talking with the VP of strategy at Scale, Connor, about a lot, which is there's two sides to this agentic economy. The first side is like human efficiency and automation, which is like, yes, you're 100% correct. It's like how much are you willing to pay to buy yourself more time, essentially, so you don't have to do it. But I think the other side is the growth and like we call it the economies of scale, not with a K, but with a C. And what that means is when things become super cheap, you can do more. And so now instead of you fact checking 5 things a day, because it costs you almost nothing to do it, you might be doing 500 a day because you can delegate that out to the agents. And so it's not just a question of delegating to buy yourself time. It's actually about expanding the volume and the quantity of something you can output. That's only doable as the costs of everything compress, which we are seeing even with the LLMs. I mean, compared to a couple of years ago, ChatGPT and all these tools cost 50, 100, sometimes 1,000 times less in some cases. So we are seeing that come down. We're probably going to continue to see it because that's functionally how technology works. It compresses and gets commoditized everywhere. But I do think that's a really important thing to think about. And my Scale show of the day, that's why Scale is so important. Because of the fact that you can't be paying a penny, you can't be paying 0.001 in gas fees for an action that should cost 50 times less than that. And that is the reality of where the world is going, is we can pay literally per use, per call for everything and still be cheaper than subscriptions. And everybody can actually make more money than with subscriptions. But in order to do that, we need to have the right base layer of infrastructure that can do the right amount of units.
You did a funny.
You caught it.
I did.
Did
Chris get it?
Sure. everyone's like, why are like what did these guys?
It's like that was so obvious. Why are they acting like it wasn't some?
Yeah, scale expand is coming to base very, very soon. We're already on testnet. We've talked about it a lot. I'm going to keep talking about it. Sorry, there's something floating in front of me. But anyways, to finish that ramble off, basically, this is why we need not just amazing agents that are coming out of platforms like Virtuals. We don't just need swarms also coming out of platforms like Virtuals. We actually need the base infrastructure layer to be capable of handling cost, right? The execution at cost. And that is not just fractions of a fraction of a penny in payment. That's also being able to stand up literally infinite amount of compute. Because if you do have a swarm and your swarm needs to do like 100 million transactions this weekend, but like after that, you could be done. You don't need to spin up an L2 or an L1 that's going to run forever. You literally just need like a blockchain for like a couple of days. And that is literally what we have built. That's what we're bringing to the table in this agentic economy. So scale on base plus, some virtuals. Sounds like it could be a really cool thing going. I don't know.
Yeah. I also think too, it's like, it all comes down to builders, right? Like we're all building in this area, but you need more people building. That's what it comes down to. And collaboratively, like we all rise up, is how I see it.
We also need users. I think
yes.
I think is an important one, right? And
yes,
until
that goes back to what I was saying though. We have to sorry to interrupt you, but I do want to make sure, because I did say this and I think it's really important. We've been trying to do this in crypto for 10 years now trying to get users. And the reality is we're just recycling the same users from blockchain to blockchain as new tokens launch. The reality is we need to go to where the distribution is. And to me, that distribution is platforms like ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, Perplexity, Quen, whatever you want to call it, right? All these tools that collectively, like ChatGPT alone has like 800 million daily active users or monthly active users or something. It's incredible, right? So when you combine all these together, we're talking about functionally probably most of the population of the world, like collectively, is using one of these tools at some point. And so I do think I agree with you. We need users, but we need to stop thinking that people are just going to come use our tools because they're better. And we need to go to where the users are and bring them something that is better, but also works in their existing flow.
I love it. Sawyer and I would be like best friends after this. The thing is like, because it's the truth, right? Because like, you're asking, oh, like users. But I think like honestly, in the future, there's going to be a lot of interactions where maybe the user doesn't even realize that there's an agent utilizing blockchain payment rails, right? So let's just say, in the 5 years from now, like, I mean, I don't know if my mom's gonna have AI agents or whatever. She's in her 80s, but she's gonna be going to a restaurant and she might be making a payment at the restaurant, right? Now, that restaurant is probably going to be using some sort of agentic solution on receiving the money, storing the money, sending the money, like, but they might not identify it as, that bad word crypto, right? So I think, yeah, it is about finding the users, but right. Sorry, it's the chicken and the egg conversation. And you have one where it's like, you want more builders, right? You need better infrastructure solutions like Scale. And then I believe like they build the products that then, get integrated into society, but they might not necessarily be like identifiable as a crypto
100%.
type product. It's really using blockchain rails.
Fully agree. We're seeing that with payments and finance right now. I mean, the stablecoin boom is, for those of you that have been living under a rock, if you have, it's okay. Maybe like take a step out for a second. Stablecoins are being brought into enterprises all over the world. They realize that they can move money literally at the speed of blockchain, which is in most cases like, let's be honest, most people don't care about actual finality. So like the slowest blockchain today is Ethereum, running at about 12-second block times. So basically you're moving at a speed of T plus 12 seconds at the worst case, which is all of about 30 minutes to 7 days faster than most of your traditional payment methods. When you start to use, solutions like Scale, Solana Base, now we're talking, sub-second speed of payments. So I do agree. All of this is just going to get abstracted. And especially with all of the, larger issuers of stable coins and exchanges beginning to file for banking licenses. I was actually talking with my father yesterday about this, and I was like, yeah, I think that, in the next couple of years, like businesses are going to be using centralized exchange or stablecoin issuers as their bank, because then they can just make payments in and out of their bank via stablecoin. And it's going to be a lot quicker to do that than try to get like a Wells Fargo or a JP Morgan to adopt that, just because they have all the legacy infra. And so I do see like a huge movement there. And then I just want to touch on one thing for any builders listening to this, because I think this is something I've noticed. I've been spending a lot of time the last 2 weeks or so working on obviously X402, but also more deeply on this just broader world of agents, right? And specifically agents that have reputation, identity, feedback loops, stuff like that, using blockchain, because it does provide a lot of those good rails. I've primarily been focused so far on the trustless agent standard from Ethereum Foundation and Consensus, which is the ERC 8004. And I would say so far, the biggest thing that I've found that I'm incredibly frustrated with is it is so overly complicated to set up an agent and then try to test it with another agent. It is like there's like a dozen plus steps you kind of need to go through just to get like a basic agent that does nothing set up. And so I do think that one of the things that like a virtuals has that I think is going to be massive is the distribution to not necessarily even launch an agent with a token, but just like be able to launch an agent. Like I think agent launch pads are going to be probably one of the biggest things that helps drive adoption for builders, because like I'm here with Ben, our head of marketing at Scale, and last night he built an agent by himself He's not a coder by any means. He built an agent to tell you put in like what like a city or a state or a country, and it tells you the time zone and the time for that place, which is really cool and very helpful if you're in the crypto world because you take meetings with like 20 different time zones a day. And he was like, all right, I built it. It works in my like terminal, but like, what do I do? And I was like walking him through this and I was like, oh my, like, this is terrible. I was like, it's going to take me like 30 minutes to get this thing set up. And so, yeah, I think like just one of like my takeaways from the last few weeks of this has been, we need to work together to make agents not just easier to launch, but then we also need to make them composable. There's too many different discovery layers now. We're in like discovery layer separation, and it's a bit terrible if you're trying to build an agent that can be used by other agents. That's
yeah, and I think like to hit on what Sawyer's saying also, like, you know, we have a tokenized agent launching platform, right? And the whole point of that is really like we have a linear fundraising model. So it's to create capital formations for teams. And then when they hit certain milestones, they get, you know, injections to help them, you know, grow the project. That being said, like with ACP, our agent commerce protocol, you don't need to have a tokenized agent to integrate into it. So we have a lot of like builders that, you know, maybe they raised VC money, maybe they don't need money. Like you don't have to like, you know, tokenize everything to be involved like it like in our commerce protocol, right? And you know, really we're the only ones in the world that are doing like, you know, discovery, coordination, pay, escrow, and we have it live now. Okay, so like you have, for example, like Anthropic, like they do discovery, right, and then they have coordination, but it's like, you know, integrated only. You know, obviously Stripes is doing coordination. They're doing pay like 402, but it's in fiat. So I think that like one of the benefits of like Web3 is that like right now, like we have something that's live and out there, and so we're gonna, I believe, be able to like improve and reiterate that quicker because there's lots of people building in this space, but not a lot of people actually have something that's like out and like live. And I think that like with Butler, like, you know, to be direct, like, and sorry if my tech team hears this, but yeah, we're almost like trying to break it right now, because like that's how like it improves, you know. And so like within our own community, like yeah, we really try to turn like critics like into collaborators, and that's kind of like where the magic happens. And there's pinpoints that we're running into, but that's like where the builders come in, and that's why they're so critical. So they see, you know, a pinpoint on whether it's benchmarking, memory, you know, there's so many. You know, I actually sat with Davide, who was one of the authors of 8004. And, you know, yeah, like that's it, he's taken one step, but then you take one step and there's four different problems, or now you have to identify the next thing, you know? So yeah, but that's also what the fun part is. And I think, you know, the characteristic of the Web3 community is just to collaborate and build together, which is what's so cool about us talking about agents today.
Agree.
So yeah, you want to talk a little bit more about Scale and Base?
Yeah, I think it's a good time to, especially with where we're at in it and, you know, what we're attempting to do. I think it makes a lot of sense. So for those of you that have not heard this, it's all good. I'm going to give you a little bit of context on the history of Scale, what Scale is, what we're doing with Scale Expand, what Scale on Base is, and why it's so relevant toward the agentic world. And if you're a builder, why after this, you're hopefully going to be super fired up and want to come and build with us and with virtuals as well. So for those of you, again, that don't know, kind of starting all the way back, Scale has actually been running live in production for over 5 years. The Scale network itself or the Scale team has been around for over, I want to say 7 years now, almost 8, if I'm not mistaken. So Scale's been around for a long time. The mainnet's been live for over 5 years, and that mainnet today is what we call Scale Network, and it has been running off of Ethereum. So the actual architecture of Scale is really, really interesting. It's so unique, and for the last 4 years, I've fought with everybody trying to create definitions, and not one of them has stuck. So sticking, stuck. So Scale is functionally an application that has the ability to launch new blockchains. That sounds really weird, I know, but that's actually what it is. And the reason for that is we have these set of smart contracts called Scale Manager, written by our incredible team of Solidity engineers that essentially orchestrate Scale Network. So when you stand up an L1 or you stand up an L2, you go through all these manual steps creating infrastructure. Scale does not work like that. The way Scale works is you have these smart contracts that get deployed on a blockchain. Could be Ethereum, could be Base, could be technically any EVM today. And in the future, we could even expand this out into other languages for things like Solana, Aptos, et cetera, et cetera. Those smart contracts allow nodes to register. Those nodes are run by validators, right? So we actually do have our own validators. We're not relying on Ethereum's validator set. Today, we have amazing validators like Blockdaemon, Figment, Chorus One, O1 Node, Pairpoint by Vodafone. The list goes on and on. Just a number of incredible ones. If I missed you, I'm sorry. We have a lot of them. The validators spin up nodes. Now, we call those nodes super nodes. The reason for that is because those nodes don't actually run Scale, because Scale is not one blockchain. Scale is many blockchains all over the place. So these super nodes are actually running containers, and these individual containers in the nodes are actually randomly selected to run the Scale chains. So this is actually what's been running for the last 5 years. We've got 16 chains live on the Ethereum deployment right now. All of the assets bridged to Scale get locked in Scale Manager on Ethereum. They get bridged out to one of the Scale chains. All those Scale chains are interoperable and can connect. And if we had a demand today for 10,000 Scale chains, we could spin up 10,000 Scale chains, because that is literally the design of what we built. Now, where we're going and what we realized is that there's not that many developers building directly on Ethereum anymore. That's just at least that's my thesis. I think the majority of developers and the majority of users go to L2s. They're cheaper, they're faster, and whether they are or are not Ethereum aligned, we're not going to get into that argument today. The belief is that they're Ethereum aligned. That's good enough for most developers and users. And so what that's led to is actually a lack of, in my opinion, active liquidity in users on Ethereum and active developers. Because again, like, when was the last time someone like exited their Binance or their Coinbase or whatever exchange and like went to Ethereum? If someone
I did it yesterday.
You're crazy. I can't tell you the last time I went directly to Ethereum.
So he's just being difficult.
Yeah, I know. But anyways, so what Scale Expand allows us to do is go to where the people that want to build on Scale want to be. So we've had a ton of teams reach out to us and say, hey, Scale sounds amazing. We love this idea of having no gas fees, this idea of having instant finality, native RNG on chain, native Oracle built it. Like, we love this idea, but like, we don't want to be over there. We want to be where everyone is right now, which right now is Base. And so started ideating on this and realized that we could actually take Scale Network, Scale Manager, the application, and deploy it on top of Base. We could deploy it on top of any EVM chain. And that is functionally what Scale Expand is, right? It's this idea that we don't have to stay in our own little bubble. We can go out and actually help these other networks, right? It's no secret that even amazing chains and ecosystems like Base sometimes struggle with gas fees spiking. They sometimes struggle with their sequencer going down. And so the cool part about this is when we deploy Scale Manager on Base, we can now spin up Scale chains off of Base. And so now you get this really weird thing where the network is technically an L3 to Base, but the Scale chains themselves are still technically layer ones, because like, they are layer one blockchains with their own validators and finality and state. But again, definitions are just definitions. Most builders don't even care anymore. What we care about is that it solves a problem. For me, the problem that it solves, as we start to think more about this agentic economy, as I go into my like 10-minute ramble here, sorry about that, is everyone keeps saying how, we're in the first inning. It's early. It's day 0, day 1, whatever. And they're so right. The problem is just like with X402 scan, the usage doesn't come until the infrastructure is there to enable the hockey stick curve growth. Until you have that, there is no supply that is capable of being consumed. It's actually the opposite of what most people think. Most people think like, oh, the demand needs to grow and then the supply is created. This is one of those cases where I actually think it's the complete opposite. I think that there is no demand until you create massive supply for it. And then people are like, wait, there's all this like basically free resource because there's so much of it. Let me go and consume. Let me bring my agents there. And so that is how I am thinking about it. There's many different ways to think about it, but that's kind of how I'm thinking about it. Because now what happens is the Base ecosystem is I think probably like the number one right now in blockchain for agentic commerce, agentic protocols, agentic tokens, agentic agents, all that good stuff. What this allows for is an infinite amount of block space to now be created on top of Base that is functionally an application at the Base ecosystem level. So if you think about it, if we have $1 billion of tokens bridged from Base to a scale chain, that is $1 billion of TVL on the scale chain, which is an application on Base. So it's beneficial for Base. All of the bridging is done directly off Base. We're driving transaction fees. We're driving gas fees back to Base. You're secured by Base. And ultimately, you get to be in the Base ecosystem. You get access to all the amazing tools. And so that's essentially where we're starting with Scale Expand. We have now been live on testnet for a couple of weeks. We've got a whole bunch of amazing stuff deployed on our testnet chain, including, from my knowledge, the first set of deployments for X402 capable tokens that are not USDC. So you can actually use right now legitimate USDT, WBTC, wrapped ETH, and SKL. Yes, more utility for the SKL token on this chain. They are bridged assets from Base. And so what this means is when this chain goes live on mainnet, we can take any asset that is on Base and turn it into an X402 capable token without having to do any sort of custom forwarding or like rewrapping on Base. It's literally just like, hey, bridge it. Once it's bridged in, you're done. It's not fully X402. You don't need to keep approving, doing anything like that. We also have all of the trustless agent contracts deployed. And so what that means is if you are building agents, you can register them right on a zero gas fee chain instantly, no risk of rollbacks or anything like that. Have those things registered and start taking those payments with zero gas fees. So that's where we've been. That's what we did. That's where we are going. And what that means is if you are building agents, agentic infrastructure, launch pads for agents, agentic payments, agentic commerce, the place to build is Scale on Base. Get everything you get with Base, but technically you get it cheaper, faster, and access to 100% of Base's ecosystem and support, virtuals, all that good stuff.
You know, I got something I'm thinking here, right, as you're talking,
Shoot.
because, you know, we all have these similar conversations, right, within our teams. I mean, probably in the future, very near future, like one of your main customer sets is not going to be human. It's probably going to be agents, right? Because if you offer all of this stuff, like, I mean,
okay.
right?
Okay, so
sorry, I just took over that non-scripted questions here.
no, this is perfect. I tweeted about this last night. It's so sad that I say I tweeted about this. That's my life now. I'm officially a Twitter addict. So thank you. I'll follow you back. So Scale Manager is an application. It is a set of smart contracts. A bunch of really smart people about 4 or 5 months ago started getting me thinking, and they said it and I started saying it, and I really believe it wholeheartedly, that blockchains are not built for humans, they're built for machines. Blockchains are really hard to use, let's be honest. Using most like DeFi and like on-chain stuff kind of sucks still. Most of our wallets still kind of suck. It's slowly getting better, but like it still just isn't that good. Like the experience is just not as good as a traditional Web2 platform in most cases. But for a machine, it's just code. Like they just call the bytecode and it's done. And so I started thinking about this, and I kind of mentioned it earlier, but something really interesting is that because Scale Manager is an application, it's just smart contracts. We are the first network that I'm aware of, because we have this capability to have autonomous blockchains that agents can buy their own chain. So a virtuals agent, we can actually create this today. Like Chris, we can link up after this. I'm in San Francisco right now. We can link up and create this. We can create a virtuals agent that can literally go to Scale Manager and buy a scale chain. It will automatically be created. And within, I think it's about 5 to 10 minutes, all the nodes get spun up. Everything is done automatically. You pay for your chain and boom, now you've got a blockchain that you can configure and do anything with. And so we actually do have the world's, from my knowledge, only blockchain that is designed not just for humans, but yes, for actual like agentic creation and consumption. And because these things are containers, they can be spun up and spun down. Again, maybe your agent just needs maybe you're throwing a party for the weekend and all you want to do is just like, you set the chain up, you map USDC over, people need to just like pay and deposit all the USDC on your chain so it's easy to track in one place. when they do that, you're issuing out assets back on base. And like after the weekend's over, you just withdraw all the assets and you spin the chain down. That is 100% possible with what we've designed. So great question, great call out. It's actually one of the things I'm very excited to experiment with. So
yeah, and what you were saying earlier, because you're like, oh, we could spin up 10,000 of these, right?
Yes.
And what a conversation we kind of have like a debate / like competition internally within virtuals, which is like when are there going to be more agents with on-chain wallets than humans? And if you asked us this like a year ago, it was pretty far away. I think it's coming real quick, and that's what's so interesting about what Sawyer's talking about with Scale, where they can spin up 10,000 of these, but yeah, like realistically, the agents might be the largest customer in the future. And we also like we got a lot of crazy ideas at virtuals, but one of them is like we believe there's not just a GDP, but we call it an energetic GDP in the future, right? So that's one of the North Stars that we're really building towards. So when you think about these agents, like they're going to be looking for the most efficient, the most cost-effective, like resources in order to complete their goal.
100%, 100%. And I think that is one of the cool parts as well is these chains can be used either individually and fully protected because they are, at the end of the day, they are an app chain. So you can make it where an agent creates it. Only that agent can deploy. They can delegate access. People can buy. They can pay however they want. You can kind of get super configurable, right? Because that is at the end of the day, like what a scale chain is highly configurable. But you can also open these things up, right? And make them just like broader ecosystem chains. And so what I think is really cool about that is it gives agents the ability to have something that they own and have control over. And I think as we start to see agents that are long running, I think a big question, and I've been thinking about this a lot, is where can you actually guarantee that an agent doesn't go down? And one of the things that I've been thinking a lot about is, well, what if we put the agent inside the scale chain, right? Like what if the agent actually creates the scale chain and then it moves itself into the scale chain because like it can, right? So now it actually embodies itself in a chain that just they pay for and keeps running. They don't have to worry about like developer doesn't spin up resources, they just keep going. So I'd say that's one of my crazier ideas, but I definitely see a world where agents are
we should do that,
moving themselves.
Like we should take how like OpenAI and all of these other companies, they test, like they give AI computers just like free will to an extent. Bro, we should do the same thing. Let's give them a scale chain.
If anyone is listening and you want to come and help make that happen, just reach out to me. Our entire network is open source. So we could build this right now. Like there's no, like we could literally create a container that's designed to house an agent.
So remember, all three of us were here at the beginning. So technically the three of us co-founded this idea. I'll take you out for a beer in San Francisco, and then let's get this agent launched on virtuals, and it can, solely focus on spinning up the blockchains for scale.
Let's go. I love it.
Yeah, it's.
I think Jack might kill me, but let's go.
Probably, yeah. Oh god, good times. Yeah, it's weird. I'm seeing this world now in like a year's time where, when a agent hits their bonding curve, instead of it just going and pushing liquidity out, it's also pushing out money to a blockchain, right? And if you had like a real utility AI agent, because one of the things that's so important is block space, is transaction speed. You wouldn't be able to have whatever it is. I can't remember how many billions a day of API calls or searches that go through the internet on a blockchain, because it would crash and die. So you'll have to have a multitude of smaller kind of chains for individual purposes. And I can just see this world of like, you go to a launchpad, you go to virtuals, you have this idea for an AI agent, you code in the AI agent, and when it hits that bonding curve, half goes to liquidity, half goes to get the chain up, and then you actually have a use case agent that is actively doing things on chain that can, interconnect with everything else.
I like it.
But I will say everything doesn't need to be tokenized, right? And like I'm saying that, like, and we have a launch pad. What Sawyer related to earlier about one of the marketing guys spinning up the the agent that does the different time zones and stuff like that. You know, we're entering an age, and Sawyer also mentioned this, alluded to it earlier, where it's very not easy, but it's easier for people with vibe coding, with other stuff to create, you know. And so I think part of the point of the launch pad is if somebody does have an idea that has legs, right? It allows them to create that capital formation so that then they have some funding, you know. You know, in San Francisco, maybe people here went to like Stanford or Berkeley and they have access to like VCs, right? But that's like a very, very small subset, right? And so I think like part of the whole idea behind a launch pad, you know, really is around creating funding for projects. So Sawyer's coworker who has this idea around, you know, the time zone. Well, maybe instead of going to Sawyer and Sawyer saying, "Oh man, I'm gonna have to spend 30 minutes or an hour," and then let's say he actually does give the time. Now he's got a new idea, another idea, another idea. I think that the whole point around tokenizing stuff is also to really create that capital formation so that the projects can grow, as opposed to just, you know, like Jesse would kill me, but I don't really believe in that tokenized everything concept.
Yeah,
I'm a
no, that makes a lot
degen,
of sense.
so
I agree. I don't think everything will be tokenized. I think there's a world where a lot of things can be fractionalized and things may
Yep.
make sense to like have, you know, certificates for, and we may consider that to be high level tokenization, but I just have a belief that like, yeah, I don't need everything in my life tokenized. I don't think the average person does. I think like a good example is, are you going to tokenize a coupon? A lot of people use coupons when they go to the grocery store, but like, sure, you can make that an NFT, but like,
Yep.
like, does someone really need to like be buying and selling coupon NFTs? Sure. I mean, that's kind of like what Groupon does, right? Like you could buy discounted ones, but again, like, is that something that's going to drastically change the world? Probably not. Like it's like an innovation improvement on top of something that already exists. I think the big thing is what do the agents, what makes the agents go, what makes people say, I'm going to spin up this agent and just like demo. Because obviously we are in like that early stage where like demos are hot, right? Spin up an agent, I demo it, I go on Twitter, like, you know, everyone's like, oh, this is amazing. But then like you don't really do anything with it. It's not a pursuable idea, like Chris is saying.
Yeah.
I think to get to that point of people creating agents as like, I'm going to, like, this is my business. Like, I'm going to build this thing and make it expand. I think we just need to give them like, we just need to give them the best tools, right? We need to make it easy to create the agent, update the agent. The agent needs to be able to do things without having to, again, pay. You know, if it wants to do 1 million transactions a day, it shouldn't cost $10,000 a day. Like the average startup does not have 10,000 a day in infra to burn, right? Like people are now like Planet Scale, one of the best Postgres like DB extension type of things. I just butchered that. Sorry, Planet Scale. They're releasing a bare metal 3-node cluster for like $270 a month. That's going to be able to probably handle, I want to say like more usage per day than probably all our blockchains put together times 100. And so I think like that is a key part is we just need to get the cost to be feasible for people to build on. And then you get to the age of let's make everything an agent, which is we're getting closer. But as you start to get there, I think then you really start to see this idea of like swarms take off because you can have these tiny agents that literally do one thing. You want the time? Sure, here you go. And it can live on chain. It can get paid on chain, but because it's so small, it doesn't need to get paid a penny. It needs to get paid like 10,000ths of a penny, right? And that's just like, it's just automated. It's easy for them. It's done. And so, yeah, very excited to see how this continues to grow. But I think we're all early enough where we're going to have a huge say in how this goes, which is really exciting. And all we really have to do is just keep building and talking about it. And people are going to try it. And that is a very exciting place to be, I think, for everyone.
And just kind of to add on that, like, you know, to the builders that are listening, like, you don't have to have like everything figured out. Just build, right? And like, you know, things are moving so quickly in the space that you just like there is this kind of like innovate or die mentality. So like, you know, specifically like with our launch pad, we would much rather see like 1 or 2 quality projects launched a day than, you know, 100, you know, projects. You know, when projects are launching with us, like, you know, typically we're seeing like they need to have an MVP. It's not just like, oh, I have an idea, like let's launch a token. I don't I don't really suggest that. I think that like, you have to have something, but then also realize that, you may need to pivot like 3 or 4 times in the first year, right? You're not just going to maybe hit that grand slam, the first time. So we have a really exciting kind of revolution happening. We have a lot of young builders coming. As Sawyer was saying, there's a lot of new tools out there, lower barriers to entry. So my message to people is like, don't be scared to just try building, and then just realize that you're going to have to be nimble until you really find, the pinpoint that your agent specifically solves.
Remember, Amazon started off as a bookstore.
Yes. I want to add one thing, because this is the one thing I wish someone had told me when I started learning to build stuff a long time ago. Don't be afraid to ask for help. It's the hardest thing to do. Don't be afraid. Don't just think you have to rely on ChatGPT. Like, there's so many of us. Anyone is willing to help you. Just DM me, Chris. There's literally like 10,000 people in the space that are happy to give you their time and their guidance free of charge. Like, not taking any claim on your project. We just want to see everyone have a chance to succeed. So if you are building, you're coding for the first time, you're trying to figure out how to deploy something, build like whatever it is, just don't be afraid to ask for help. There's a lot of it out there, and the hardest thing to do is ask the first time. Once you do it, it'll get a lot easier, but don't be afraid.
Yeah, 100% agree on that.
Whatever you don't do not DM me, because I know fucking nothing. Guys, it's been a pleasure. I might have just got detention for swearing in school. Guys, been a pleasure.
Am I going to be? Will I be invited back? I mean, I don't know why everyone doesn't come back on the show. This was a lot of fun.
I mean,
I think it's more of you want to come back.
You want to come back. Everyone's welcome to come back. It's just people.
Hey, you know what we'll do next time? I did see a cat tail pop up on your screen there. Why don't meow?
Why do you just have hot sauce sitting next to you, man? Like, you okay?
No, not.
I'll bring my cat next time. We can make it a party. How about that?
Oh hell yeah!
I think we should. I think Chris, we should figure out how to create an agent that's going to create scale chains, and even if it's just on testnet. And then next time you come on, let's demo that thing live.
Cool. Well, listen, we were supposed to talk more about 402, which we didn't. But there's Sawyer, there's a 402 meetup in San Francisco tonight. I'll send you an invite.
I will see you there.
This. Cool.
I'm already going. Don't you worry. I'll see everyone there. So if you're in San Francisco,
we can cook up our agent idea.
Heck yeah, let's do it.
Guys, been a pleasure as always. Sawyer, Chris, thank you so much, and thank you everybody for tuning in. We will see you again next week. Oh God, sorry, hiccups.
That's the hot sauce.
For another episode of Scale School. Goodbye.
Thanks, everyone.